Hey everyone, welcome back to Power Tips. As we approach the end of 2024 and the holidays, we wanted to take some time to look back at all the things that we've done in 2024. It's always amazing to see how many of these videos that we've done, how many great features have come out, and all the things that have changed in the products that we love so much. So let's jump on in. Heidi is going to walk us through all of the exciting things of the past year.
Excellent. So the first exciting thing are rebrands, which we always experience a lot of in this product. There were only three that came top of mind for me, and maybe I missed some. But obviously, we had our beloved Viva Sales last year, rebranded into Sales Copilot. And then this year, it's gone through a further rebrand. Hopefully, it's the last one. And Sales Copilot has become Copilot for Sales. We had Active Directory turning into Entra ID. I don't know about you. I definitely still call it Active Directory. And then more recently, Copilot plugins were rebranded to be Copilot agents. So those are the three big ones that I could recall and look up. What do
It,
y'all think about this? Or do you remember any other product rebrands that I missed?
it feels like there was way more, but I think we just
Yeah.
always assume that they're changing the name of everything because it happens so often. But in terms of things we deal with, I think these are the key ones. But it definitely feels like
Yeah.
things change way more frequently than just a few a year. So
Yeah. And I guess the big question as we head into 2025 is what's going to happen to Copilot for Sales?
right?
Okay, speaking of sales, these are all of the great features that we highlighted throughout Power Tips in 2024 that have either actually made it into the product or are still on the release notes for making it into the product soon. So lots of cool things came out in sales. Enhanced focus mode. So that started initially, I think, just on 2 tables and then expanded to all of them. That was exciting. I love focus mode. We've got sequence steps. We've got refresh styling, which I think was just changing the colors and moving some buttons. Using Copilot to get answers from your sales documents. Customizing your lead qualification process. I don't really recall specifically what that was because I feel like we've been able to do that for a while. Analyze your opportunities, get a 360-degree view with your AI generated summary on the account, and also, I guess, highlighting a bit more of that AI stuff. So what do you think of all of our sales features that made it in this year?
I, of course, love all of the AI features and all the cool things that we're seeing in Copilot. And I think there's additional features, maybe we didn't talk about it, to pre-fill your data in your form, and you can do that smart paste into your form. Those are also things announced this year that I think are in preview. So just so many enhancements we see across the product on these things.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to customer service. Lots of things rolled out in customer service. And spoiler alert, you're going to see a lot of things for customer service that ended up in the graveyard. But we've got a lot of Copilot features here with prompts, filtering on attributes, validating your responses faster, using overflow for when wait time, so helping the queue and the automatic record routing and processing rules and all that great stuff. It's been in the product forever. I did try to call out things that haven't made it to GA yet. So there's two on here, enable agent authentication for plugins and support for WhatsApp, but that is GA, isn't it? I forgot to take
I
out
believe
that
it
was
is.
GA.
I believe
Sorry
it is.
about that. And then high priority queue routing. So a lot of cool things here. I kind of like seeing the base product updates in this particular app because we actually have a couple queue things in here. So thoughts on this, friends?
I think that this is a good reminder. Reminder is not the right word, but there's just so much and there's so many things going on. And then you layer in, I forget if we put it in here somewhere else, but contact center as a whole new element of this that could be run by itself or inside of this. And so you layer all that in. It reminds me of the ongoing debate for people of like, how do I just keep up with all of this stuff? And what's our strategy to identify which things matter and which things we want to roll out, and what's the strategy for actually rolling it out and getting it in the hands of users? And it just so customer service is great, there are lots of great features, but to me, when I look at a list like this, that's a lot of change in a year for organizations to absorb and try and action as they go. So hopefully you have a good strategy in place for all these things if you're using these tools.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has a great change management strategy implemented.
Probably.
All right, field service. So we've got a lot of things that are either still in preview or got pushed like significantly farther back than originally intended. So a lot of these things were supposed to come out in the fall, and now they're listed for like January and February. But we've got the improved usability and performance of the schedule board. That's the only feature that made it GA. Get assistance with AI-powered work order recaps, team-based mixed reality, summarizing work orders, all kinds of cool stuff here. So thoughts on the field service updates? Way smaller list.
Yeah, much smaller list, but I think if I remember correctly, I think last year there was a whole bunch of improvements for field service. So I'm sure that there were a lot of kind of more smaller enhancements that were happening throughout the year, or maybe enhancements that we didn't talk about. But I know that everyone will like these Copilot summarizations when those are ready next year.
Sure. Customer insights journeys. So some big things that came here were kind of parity with some of the old real-time marketing features that we're still hanging on, like A/B testing, see copies of sent messages in your timeline. Then we move on to the things that are still in preview and got pushed out. And some of these, again, pushed out pretty significantly. The collect extra customer data without custom attributes was in release wave 1, and now that's pushed out to May of 2025. So just hopping a year there. Collecting extra customer data without, that's the same thing. Sorry, I wrote that twice. Exporting data to your own storage for custom reporting. I was surprised to see that one pushed. Personalized based on web interactions, generate leads, all kinds of that great stuff. Still in preview, no GA dates, but we do have a couple things that we highlighted that have rolled into the product.
Yeah, this all makes so much sense, right? That investment in this product, because in this day and age, it's about being in front of your customer and how do you limit the time it takes to get information to the customer. So all these enhancements to make things faster to create and give you more options to create things that are beautiful and engaging and all that good stuff. It totally makes sense that these are areas of investment, and it's exciting to see them come to life because I think a lot of organizations are realizing that if they are not constantly putting themselves in front of their customers, it's going to be a drawback to them, but also trying to balance we all have those people that email us, those companies that email us like insanely frequently. And so how do you balance that, right? How do you not become overbearing, but also catch their attention? So cool place for investment, and I'm excited to see what comes next.
Stuff. Now we're going to move over to Power Platform. So first up is Power Apps. Auto form filling. I had that under Power Apps, Kylie, but you're right. Using Copilot to build and edit apps. That's surprisingly something that's only been around this year. Review column suggestions in model-driven apps. Resizing side panes. I know this is one that I talked about. Such a tiny little thing, but it just makes me happy. The monthly channel release option. And then we move into the stuff that is still in preview. The Power Platform environment settings app, though I can see that now. Fill forms faster with smart paste, filter with natural language, surprisingly still in preview, enhanced testing, a lot of cool things coming in Power Apps, and a lot of these are coming very soon if they're not already there.
Yeah, I think the big one that I'm noticing on this list is that environment settings app for all of us used to using Classic. And now, well, I guess there's a few parts in there, the environment settings app, but also the classic, you know, all the classic settings now defaulting to that environment settings app and all those things. That's a big thing for those of us who've come from the old CRM world. So lots of new things in there. I'm also thinking about all of the features around, users or our makers working together, right? So when we can edit apps with multiple people working on an app at once in our model-driven apps, and I believe our Canvas apps as well. I think that's something that came out earlier in this year. Probably was announced last year, but just so many enhancements for our makers. So lots of great things continuing to come.
Great. All right, now we come into like one of our busiest lists, which is Power Automate. There's been a ton of stuff in Power Automate. The first few are GA now, so obviously you can connect other environments from the Dataverse connector. That again brought that up to parity with the old version that you no longer need to use. Process mining was rolled out. If you haven't checked that out, that's pretty cool. Automate work button added to Excel, and use workflows on calendar events and Teams and Outlook, enable dark mode. And then the rest of this list is all still in preview, but it's going to be cool stuff. Create and edit expressions, a lot of natural language stuff. Next best action, that one's going to be cool. We just talked about that on one of our more recent power tips. Lots of Copilot things coming. So a lot happening that we talked about in Power Automate.
All that, and the one thing that jumps out to me, I don't even necessarily think it's on the list. How do you truly feel about the new canvas? I can't stand it. I hate it. I like the old one better.
You're talking
I know
classic.
I'm stuck at yeah, right. The classic version, the classic version of Power Automate. Feels weird to say that, but that to me is the thing that jumps out the most. Is every time I go in there, I'm like, I can't handle this new environment, and I'm trying to get better with that kind of change, but man, it gets me stuck every time.
That's fair. That's fair. Power Pages. To be fair, we only highlighted Power Pages in one release wave notes. Sorry, Power Pages. So the things that we talked about there are firewalls, so a lot of the governance and security stuff, using Copilot to build and launch websites. That's fun. Using GenAI to search Power Pages sites, view recommendations in the Power Platform Advisor, which is still in preview, and then disable external authentication providers in Power Pages. Thoughts on these fun things?
Yeah, none of us are Power Pages experts, so any of these features to make it easier for us to build these and without having to know all the details, I think are great. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of these authentication changes and how we can continue to make it easier for our external customers to log into our Power Pages.
Totally agree with you. And then other great topics that we talked about that didn't fit into one of these. So we highlighted some things in Copilot Studio. So using generative answers in all supported languages, not just a few. You can import and export topics. WhatsApp, sorry, I put that on there twice. Improve GenAI insights, customer managed encryption keys. We did a whole session about contact center, which Malcolm mentioned in the customer service area. That was announced on June 4th, and that changed a lot. Talk about moving the cheese there. We did a whole session on the Power Apps Maker welcome content. That's just a fun little thing for your internal users. We did a deep dive into focused view being available for all tables, not just select sales tables. We had a really fun session where we talked about prepositional importance and what the difference is between Copilot 4 and Copilot In. And we talked about AI Builder, so monitoring model activity and prompt builder enhancements. So we talked about a lot of stuff.
We covered a lot of stuff. It's these things rolling out all year like this. It's like Christmas all year long because there's always something new to talk about. It's amazing.
I'm sure that's how everyone watching this feels. It's Christmas.
Probably.
All year long.
All year long.
So, we didn't just talk about all these great things. We also had 3 great conferences where we had Power Tips Live. We were joined by special guest experts. We'll link to all those videos in here so you can check them out if you missed them. But I think these were personally my most fun Power Tips to record over 2024. And I really hope we can continue that in 2025.
Yeah, I think those Power Tips Lives were almost like the highlight of the whole conference at these events. So what we did is we had just a whole bunch of experts line up and share their top tips from the event, and we just rapid fire captured the things that people are learning and the types of sessions that they're going to. And that was so much fun, and hopefully you guys can check out those videos. I also love these great pictures of Heidi and I doing Power Tips. Check out those packed rooms. And if you haven't, or not Power Tips, 60 Tips in 60 Minutes. If you haven't been to our 60 Tips in 60 Minutes session, I encourage you to join us at a future event and come on for so many tips.
Yeah, just make sure you get there early or else they might shut the room down.
Yeah, fire marshal might shut us down.
And a really quick call out on those Power Tips, the live ones. The coolest thing for me about all of those is the people that we get are people that you see posting new things all the time. You would never, I just assume that people just know everything, but they're all learning new stuff at each one of these events. So that's what always blows my mind is people who I think just have this wealth of knowledge. Even they are coming to these conferences and leaving with new inspired information, which is always cool.
Totally agree. Good call out. And this is my favorite slide at the end of the year, the graveyard. These are things that we talked about that either disappeared from release notes or were possibly bundled in with another product. We're not quite sure. So again, my favorite slide. Let's take a look at the graveyard. In Dynamics for Sales, we were supposed to get the ability to assign leads based on seller capacity. We were all really excited about that one. We thought that could be a game changer. It's gone. Hope nobody really wanted to implement that. And then I don't know what happened with Copilot on the homepage, but that seemingly has disappeared from release notes. Dynamics for customer service. Pretty much everything that was listed in Omnichannel in Wave 1 disappeared. Was it rolled into the contact center? Probably. Is it gone? I don't know. So those specific things were convert voicemail to case, mark sensitive data, use skills to find agents for consult and transfer situations. And we have the default enhanced experience of handling recipients while composing email. Seriously, everything from Omnichannel. And scheduling a meeting based on email context. They're all gone. Then we have customer insights journeys. Two things that we talked about, which are no longer there. Send scheduling. That kind of surprised me. And easily set up and execute pre and post event communications. Power Automate. We lost intelligent license recommendations. No surprise there. Who really expected us to get a licensing assistance there? Create flows with Power FX. That one disappeared. Is it replaced by Copilot? I don't know. And finally, Copilot Studio. Use GPT to select one or more topics or plugin actions. So I would love to hear both of your thoughts on this. Is there anything here that you really were excited about that got lost?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised with the customer service stuff. I think that must have been rolled into contact center, but I still feel like it's hard to get a straight answer on a lot of the contact center. What's really in there? Where do I find the details? How is it different from customer service? And I learned within the last month, you can't put customer service and contact center on the same environment. So you can't even compare them. So that's interesting. Random side tip. Yeah.
That is interesting. And I wonder if some of these things just get baked in, like the send scheduling in the customer insights journeys to me is such a it's just a native feature. And I kind of wonder about all the things that just kind of disappear, if they actually just get rolled in to the application and they're available, but they're not announced because there's this sentiment in the community that's like, what do you mean it can't do that already? And so it's their way of just burying the fact that it's not a new exciting feature. It probably should have done that from day one. So let's just roll it in and cover it up and call it a day. I don't know if that necessarily happens, but it some of these things I look at and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we can do those things, or at least variations of them. So it's interesting.
That's a
I
good
think
theory.
while we were researching, some of them had changed names too. So we'd find one and it had just been a little bit different. So yeah, surprise, we rebranded even in the release notes.
That's hilarious. Also, I did notice some of the things, I think maybe they tick them off that year's release notes and then they push it to the next year's release notes. Because there were some things that I recognized when I was updating last year's things. I was like, hey, we talked about that this year. So maybe it's just, oh, we weren't ready. Let's just take this off and push it out next year.
All good stuff. I think that's it, right? That's our last slide.
That's the last slide.
That brings us to a close for 2024 Power Tips. And we talked about it a minute ago. Man, we covered a lot. We covered a lot of stuff. So virtual high five to all the things we covered. We hope that you've been along for the journey. If you missed any of those sessions and you're like, well, I didn't know you guys talked about that, go back in the archives, if you will, and you can pull out those videos and rewatch. We hope that you've enjoyed it. We'd love to hear your ideas. But first and foremost, or above all else, we hope that you have a wonderful holiday. Obviously, we're very close to Christmas as we're about to roll this out. So we hope that you have a restful holiday. We hope that you take time to energize and recharge. As we talked about, there's a lot to uncover here. 2025 is sure to be jam-packed as well. So take this little time to break and rejuvenate so that you're ready for the onslaught of all the new and exciting stuff that's going to come next year. But you can bet that we will be there to cover all of it as best we can as we go through 2025 on Power Tips. Thanks for joining us.